Hi there, welcome back to the Apatros Review. I'm your host, Mila Sipka, and join me as I take you on a ride through the wild world of science fiction action horror, all from a personal DVD collection of 1,200 DVDs, plus a few Blu-rays, VHS tapes, video games, and maybe the occasional book and TV show reviews. Now, in this episode, we look at the film The First He Did, which is a 1974 film that was shot in the Philippines, an American production, directed by Terry Becker, who is a former TV actor. This was his only directorial effort. Now, the film is also known as The Blood Cult of Shangri-La, and also known as Blood Hunt. And it's available on various DVD releases, particularly on the Mill Creek 50 film box set Pure Terror, also from Something Weird Video and Vinegar Syndrome. Now, Vinegar Syndrome so far has the best quality, and it's a double feature DVD. I'll explain a little bit later. Now, of course, my review print from Mill Creek is also pretty decent. Now for the story. Four women living in Manila, in the Philippines, have been abducted by hired goons and taken to a village oasis hidden on the mountaintop, where a secret immortality cult have been living for the past 500 years. The cultists, who worship the still living, severed head of their founder Raul, encased in a glass box full of blood, use the blood extracted from their chosen donors and mix it with a plant sap taken from nearby sacred plants to create an elixir that will keep them from aging, granting them practical immortality on the condition they never leave the oasis. One of the new arrivals is prophesied to be their new high priestess, but the candidate respectfully refuses the offer and decides to lead her fellow captives to escape, aided by the remorseful high priest. Now, this is one of those tacky exploitation films that American filmmakers used to make in Manila in the Philippines during the 1970s. Roger Corman did a lot of business there at the time, and which were destined to be screened in the local drive-in. The first he did was the sole theatrical film made by TV actor Terry Becker. The film has since gone into obscurity, although some current labels have been reviving the film with restoration prints, appearing through the likes of Mill Creek, which is the source of my review copy, Something Weird Video, and Vinegar Syndrome. While the film's plot holds a good deal of promise, the execution is seriously half-assed, to the point that the film is slow as hell and fairly boring, making it something of a drag to sit through. The cast, including TV veteran John Constantine as the cult's high priest, do their roles with conviction despite the silly material they've been given, and sparsely used makeup effects look passable enough, particularly the severed head that the cult worships, which only has one line of dialogue. Laura. There have been a lot of reviews claiming that the sets in this film look like something out of the original series of Star Trek, the Captain Kirk one. And those people are pretty much on the money with this one. The cave sets do look like they have been recycled for Star Trek, which would have been off the air for about 5 years or so at the time, and the costumes are truly awful. The first theater doesn't have much going for it, but for a PG-rated film that lacks graphic violence, profanity, or even nudity, this is a pretty safe bet for family viewing on Halloween night. Or for the little tykes watching this might get the giggles, watching the various cult rituals inside the severed head. Also, this cult seems to be the most friendly, least threatening cult ever depicted on screen. Or for leaving them, it's literally a death sentence. The cult's oasis is ringed by a boundary that causes anybody who has taken elixir to age rapidly to the point of death. By the way, what do they pay the goons that supply them with fresh blood donors? They don't appear to have any sort of money on them, do they? Now for the gore report. There are some mild cuts, a captive falling into a pit, and a high priest aging to the point of death once he crosses the boundary, but no actual gore scene here. And there's no nudity here either. Although Judith McConnell, who also appeared in the Ted V. Mikkel's trash classic The Doll Squad, shakes her booty during the opening nightclub dance number. Now I'll review The Doll Squad in the future. I pass along the D+, the 3 out of 10 to The First He Did. It's a disappointing bit of 1970s Manila exploitation schlock, but not truly bad. More like a mediocre effort than anything else. Now, as for the DVD, this was released onto various DVDs over the past few years, most of them having some pretty decent picture quality that belies the cheap nature of the production. The first release was from Something Weird Video, which put this film in a double feature with Swamp of the Ravens in the letterbox 185 ratio and no extras. This review print of mine came next, featuring some of Mill Creek's cheap 50 film box sets, in this case the Pure Terror set, also in 185 letterbox and having reasonable picture quality. The latest release is from Vinegar Syndrome, which also puts this on a double feature Bloodthirst, another Manila-shot genre film, which has a substantially cleaner print than previous releases in anamorphic 185. None of these releases have any supplemental material for the film. And if you're a Vic Diaz fan, Vic Diaz is actually an actor who's done many of these Manila films from the 1970s, also appears in this film as a police inspector. It's a pretty brief role, but he's in it. Now, that's it for this review of the first he did. I should point out that I make these reviews almost like every 2 or 3 days, usually every 3 days. So keep watching and subscribe. And also, I do like in the commentary in the comments section for each episode. I actually put a primer for my next episode. I also made some changes showing the like future reviews as well. And if you want, I don't do requests, but if you want to know if I have a particular film in my collection, just hit me up in the comment section. I'll answer you there. Anyway, stay safe, and that's it for this review.